from our submission, you'll see we've got a serious concern about traffic safety, or pedestrian safety around this area, between the two schools. The issue is students leaving the college and moving in a southerly direction or westerly, which is most of our students who actually walk to Marton go in those directions. At the moment, there is no clear exit point from the school. Well, there's an exit point, but there's no way to cross the road. So most students sort of come and they'll either wander across the road between Hereford Street intersection and the school, or they'll get to the end of Redden's Line footpath, which at the moment stops at Oakley Avenue, and cross there, which is very close to that Hereford Street corner. That's problematical enough as it is. That situation will only deteriorate or become more risky and hazardous with the development of the Hereford Heights intersection, because of the increase of vehicular traffic, and also with the extension of the footpath from Oakley Avenue to Hereford Heights. I think students will just continue to wander down there until they get to the end of the footpath and then cross, and by that stage they're right next to the bridge. But if they are heading in those areas that I said, that southwesterly area, they've got to cross the roads twice. They've got to cross to get it before they get to Hereford Street. So they cross to the western side of Redden's Line as you're looking at it, cross there to go over the bridge because it's the only way over the bridge, and then to go south they tend to cross straight away once by the pool, straight across there to get into the area known as the Lost Acre. So close to the corner, you've got lots of significant crossing. And Brian will say sometimes there'll be a bunch of 20, which we don't see, it's on her side, that will be crossing after the bridge en masse. And so cars coming around the corner, it's problematical. That's also the area where there's the junior car park at Marton Primary School. Perhaps you should speak to this, and that's where a lot of young children and cars see that behaviour to start with, so it's poor behaviour, but also there's more parents tend to pick students up. We also have issues with congestion and cars outside school at the start of the day, end of the day. Very few students actually come on bike. We might have 4 or 5 that come on bicycle. So the days of the long sort of bike shed out the front are long gone. That's just the way it is. We can say what we like about behaviour of pedestrians, but we have to live in the world as it is and minimise hazards and make safety along here as idiot-proof, if I can use that term, and intended to, as we can. So in a way, we have to sort of work towards the lowest common denominator. We see that in other spaces. 20 years ago, we didn't have, cones everywhere and high-vis. We do that just to mitigate risk. So there's 2 issues. There's 2 things that we would like to solve this. We've got to get kids off the road, not on the road at all, as much as we can. And we've actually got to reduce, for those that are around there, working around there, we have to reduce the risk. And the way we see that is, go to the second one first, is by reducing speed. If there is a speed limit between the 2 schools, reduces significantly the risk of accident. That's been endorsed quite significantly by research done by Kotahi. And you might be aware of the consultation paper that's out about compulsory to have 30 km/h speed limits outside schools by 2029. That's out for consultation now and has strong political support. It's likely to go through in urban areas. So that's the speed issue. So it actually reduces it if there should ever be an impact. It reduces the impact, the costs of that, but it also highlights the issue. You are going around an area where there's a large number of young people. So the speed limit would be important for that. The other part as well, I said, is to get people off the road. If we can have a pedestrian throughway from the college that enables students to get through to the Lost Acre or the southern side of Hereford Street without crossing the road, that would mitigate a whole range of safety issues. But that would require another pedestrian crossing across the bridge, or an alternative bridge, so they can get across there. That's just what the issue is. So that's really what we're asking for, the speed limit, to reduce the hazard, but actually to almost to eliminate the hazard, is to have alternative pedestrian access through to the south side of Hereford Street. So,
do you wish to add to it, or are you happy to take questions?
I'm happy, with what Tony's shared, and I'll help if there's any questions.
Question from me, in terms of, first of all, the intersection at the top of the corner, Hereford Street, Redden's line, that work that's currently being done, have you seen the planning around how that intersection will work?
I've spoken to the developer about that about 6 weeks ago, about the, you mean that where the giveaway is going to be, and yes, yeah.
Are you happy with that aspect of that roading design?
I'm not a road engineer, but I would like to see, for those exiting Hereford Street, Hereford Heights, some sort of indicator to slow that traffic down. I'd just be concerned about traffic moving out of there in a straight line quite rapidly. I mean, 30 km/h, again, stop there, but even a judder bar or some sort of traffic calming device around there, just to slow that, just to force that down.
Right. I have a bevy of people. I'll go Councillor Rakawa, Councillor Lambert, Councillor Belsham, Councillor Wilson, and I'll try and record them in their area.
Kia ora, Tony, Roya, can you tell me how many students, have you had a look at how many students would together or combined would be using, actually, how many students really would you think use that road to cross, come down? Can you ever guess?
From the college, we have about 150 that would go in that direction. What happens to them after that? We tend to lose sight of them, but 150 go south of the school.
We've got 180 children in our school, but they're all on the south side, so there is no need for them to cross to get there. We've got a pedestrian crossing outside our school that gets used in the afternoons, because all our children pretty much live within a 5-minute time span to get them across to the north side of Hereford Street. But those children are observing the group of college children that actually cross at the bridge into our junior car park, and our 5 and 6 year olds are observing those children doing that, which is my concern, because they think it's appropriate behaviour.
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Lambert.
So my question regarding, you say you only have 4 students who arrive on bikes. Is there a reason more don't use bikes? Have you ever done your research? Is it a right? Would a cycle lane help? Or?
I haven't done that locally, but it is a nationwide trend, and it's quite significant. The numbers have plummeted in larger urban areas, and schools that use these great big sort of confines and security. No, it's very common, and it's I think parents are concerned about safety in a wider sense.
They often have 4 wheels now instead of 2. Councillor Belsham.
Thank you. Thanks for your submission. Understand the concerns there. My question is around the use of the term lost acre in your submission, and I know historically it's been called that, but it's had a huge amount of development on that, and I'm just wondering if we use that terminology. It's becoming more and more known as the Lions Walkway, because they put a massive amount of time and effort into that, and it gives it a term of.
Is there a question here, Councillor?
Yeah, so what I'm saying is, would you be prepared to change your terminology of the Lost Acre to the Lions Club Walkway in any future correspondence?
It has been found.
That'd be fantastic.
It's been found.
Councillor Wilson.
Right, Tony, thank you. Have you collectively, or your boards, or is it through the education, have you submitted to Waka Kotahi regarding the speed limits?
No, but we will be. Our board will be.
Your boards will be. Cool. Thank you.
The questions from Councillor. Oh, you're getting off more lightly than I would have thought. Question from me. Your internal role projections over the next few years, where are you sitting in terms of role and numbers?
Our role is in the last 2 to 3 years increased by 15 to 20 children per year. We're expecting that to continue, but I can't project what the new housing developments at the moment will how that will impact our school, because it could have a very significant impact on the numbers of children in our school if the people buying those houses have got school-aged children.
And same questions to you, yes, Rob.
Yep, so we're just slightly under 300 at the moment, about 290 something. We had a significant blip last year with senior students not returning after lockdown, but we're planning the early 300s for the next 3 years. Again, without caveat, without understanding the impact of the new housing developments. So if nothing else changes, about between 300 and 320.
Are you aware of some of the proposals that's happening in our district and our vision within the long-term plan around population increase?
We're aware of that, yeah.
Further questions from councillors? Thank you. Well, thank you. I've spent a little bit of time in the schools.
Yeah.
I appreciate the work that you guys do and the relationship that we have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Tony, please don't race off. Tony, can I see you just for a second if we have an opportunity? Our next submitter is Ron Burton, Junior in a couple of minutes.
It's funny how it's funny how get the name no, but to get the name originally, it seems
Yeah, when you got lost.
You probably do, although that's really, so, I don't know.
Anything else?
Starving.
And what you said, there's quite a problem, but they've also
I know exactly what the question is. And people in this
let's before we try and figure out a solution like that, because
we've got
councillors, please. We're welcome to the submission table, Ron Burton. Ron, if you'd like to take, this is a submission relating to the Wilson Park Development Group. It's page 133. Ron, in terms of process, you have 10 minutes. And that includes question time. How you use that time is your call. You are being recorded today, Ron. We've got one councillor not here. For that councillor to take part of the deliberation stage of council, they need to be able to demonstrate to me that they have listened to everything that has gone on today. Are you familiar with the process? We'll take you through it if we need to, but essentially you have 10 minutes including question time, and I believe you're speaking on behalf of the Wilson Park. The time is yours.
Kia ora, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to the submission. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Ron Burton. Our family have resided in the Rangitikei since the late 1970s. We've owned residences here, still do, and businesses in different places. 3 of our children have all been educated up at the Rangitikei College and have now flown the coop. I've gone to Japan, Singapore, Queenstown, so we're about in the middle. Now, I'm a bit of a latecomer to the group that formed last year. The group presented a 3-stage plan to Rotary a few weeks ago, and I'm on the community committee in Rotary and put my hand up to join the group, and this is the result. I got this job. As a latecomer, I apologise in advance. I may not be able to answer all of your questions straight off the bat because I'm still getting my head around the whole process that the group's been going through. We're going through 2 crucial steps at this stage. One is the consultation with stakeholders. To that end, we've had 2 of our members this morning meeting with the Council Cultural Advisor. One of the groups that I didn't specifically mention in the submission, a very important group in this town, are the Samoan people. This is not a criticism, but they're notoriously difficult to get onto committees and to get interaction with them, but we're strategizing ways of doing that because they are very big users of the park down in Wilson Park. They use it for volleyball, and they also have many church groups that meet there on a Sunday afternoon. Appreciate the support from council employees here too, because we had a meeting with Russell, Nadia and Katrina the other day, who are very, very helpful in getting us to have the consultation process going with the stakeholders of the park. The second part that's very important to us at the moment is we're looking at the formation of a charitable trust. Although it was offered by Rotary that we work under their umbrella, that is not an acceptable case these days for some of the funding applications. So we are currently going through the process of forming a charitable trust. I don't know if anybody has been given the PDF file from the group. Stage 1 is looking at putting a peripheral track around the playground area down there. It's quite a large area actually. It's quite a big open space. Varying surfaces from limestone to paving to concrete and maybe even boardwalk over areas where there's tree roots and things like that. So it gives a bit of variety incorporated in the concrete and in the paving. We're looking at getting various motifs from the input from cultural groups and users of the park. One piece of equipment that we're looking at putting into the area is it's a toddler series play unit, so that's just to give something new for the people down there. It's specifically designed for the whānau, for the family groups to be used down there, so that's why we're going about it doing it this way. Stage 2 is a children's road for scooters and small bikes, and that's a concept of what it's looking at, just an actual roadway, real signage, white lines, so that the children get used to riding their scooters and bikes on an area like that. Can all be seen by the parents who will be using I didn't cover the exercise equipment. In the track that goes around the play area, we're looking at having byways with specific exercise equipment there for the families to use, mostly aimed at the adults. I've been in a lot of these places. I know in Queenstown they've got one and it's used all the time, and then the people just walk from one station to the next and use this exercise equipment. Great way of keeping fit and being outdoors and having the family around. Stage 2, as I said, is the roadway, but at that point we're looking at getting a good commercial quality electric barbecue area set up so that people can go down there and have barbecues, have family outings down there. In stage 3, we're looking at having a dog agility and exercise area. It's a very dog friendly park. We used to take our dog for training when we lived down in that area. Everything that we've looked at looks like it works in very, very well with the latest document we could find from the council, which was the 2009 Wilson Park Management Plan. It all works in with their action table and management plan that you've got in there. The thing we've had discussions with people about is some strategic planting down there. The trees are getting to the stage where they're not so much an asset anymore. They're all big old Lawsonianas, and in fact all being planted across the northern side. That playground is shaded quite badly right through the winter months. And it doesn't provide any shelter from the wind because the trunks, the foliage starts up at this height, so it actually whistles through underneath. So there's a lot of work to be done, and we're obviously working with council to how we go about that. Drainage has been an issue that's been brought up. And again, I just went down for a walk this morning. There's no issue with it today, so it mustn't be as bad as I've been led to believe. So. Other than that, if there's any questions, I'm quite happy to answer them. So.
Thank you. Thank you, Ron. Questions from councillors? So a question from me. You've been a relatively new player to this group. And so I understand that they've reached out to Rotary and other organisations to increase essentially the horsepower in this group.
Yes, indeed.
That's the case?
Yes, indeed. Yes, that's exactly the case. They're a very committed group of locals from the community down there, but in most cases they haven't had experience in going for big projects and organising big projects and things, but their hearts are certainly into it. They've had a lot of fundraising already with people just donating loads of firewood and things like that, which is the way they go about things. So I thought, well, I'll bring it to the council to see if we can't get some real impetus to the group by getting some funding behind it. Rotary had a meeting last Monday. I've been away in the Taranaki, in the Waikato all this week, sorry, but there was a meeting at Rotary and I saw the minutes and it says that yes, that Rotary are right behind it. So,
as part of the $400,000 that is budgeted for this, has the group considered having a professional designer playground person involved at any stage?
Yeah, well, we had discussions with Russell the other day about it, and he suggested exactly the same thing, that we need to look at going ahead and getting, because they've looked at the equipment that they'd like, but there's been nobody that's designed a format of exactly how it should be done. So it's probably an important thing to make sure that it's done correctly.
So for councillors, Russell's part of the Parks and Reserve program. Councillor Ash, you've got a question.
That was one of my questions was, so thank you, and thanks Ron for presenting today. Yeah, how's the plan coming along as far as actually getting a plan on paper of what your final look is for the park, and are you getting somebody in to do that for you?
The bones of it are all there at the moment, but of course we don't want to say this is how it's going to be until we've had the consultation with park users. There's no point in going down that track and then finding out we're up against opposition because we haven't incorporated something in it or haven't asked the right questions of the right people. So yeah, we've got ideas of exactly what we want to achieve, but as long as that is what the rest of the community want as well. So yeah, that's getting close to having a public consultation going ahead. Thanks to Nadia and Katrina helping us out on that too.
Just a clarification from me for staff. You've asked us for consideration of $50,000. You have indicated that there is a stage 1, stage 2 process. Often councils tend to say we will be the final funder of something. In other words, when you get all your money together. So are you asking us to fund at stage 1, or are you asking us to be potentially a final funder when everything is stage 2 included?
My understanding is that they weren't even expecting to have council support, and it was only because of the process of having the submissions that a lot of them on the committee suddenly became aware that, oh, we can go ahead and get a lot more funding early on if that's what's going to give us the impetus to get everything up and running. So it would probably be, we've got some money committed from Rural Women's Group, I think it is, that's coming in. And there's certainly going to be applications to things like the Dudding Trust and Public Charity and things like that. But the rest of the committee weren't really aware of the process of going for the funding. So that's and I'm not that familiar with it, but yeah, certainly.
It's probably something we'd need to have a discussion in terms of the park, but you have asked for. Councillor Rakawa.
Kia ora, Ron. Question. If the group was looking at the park, they're looking at the trees, if you remove those trees, or if, so just say they left, did you have any idea about fencing? Because that creek runs through the middle of it, to...
No, actually, that was the last thing I had on here was strategic planting. We need to keep open space, but the strategic planting has also been discussed. So yeah, I didn't actually mention that at the end, but we're looking at all types of planting, and this has only come about from 2 weeks ago when we met with Russell, is looking at native planting areas, planting specific scented garden areas, planting bee attracting areas, all of those sorts of things.
And that would stop the kids from going from the park into the creek. I know there's only a little bit.
The pathway will actually almost act as a barrier. There is a fence there. But, yeah, and
thanks.
We're looking at taking the fence down. So.
These loaded pens from Councillor Belsham and Councillor Ash.
Unloaded.
And we'll take you as final speakers.
Thank you, Ron. Now, you mentioned in your submission today when you were speaking that drainage was historically a concern there, but you've checked it today. And
well, I went down there today and it wasn't too bad today.
But is it still a focus of the group?
Yes,
to
I'll have to get some more information from the other members of the group because they are the ones that have specifically said, oh,
yeah, if you could confirm that, because that was a focus of the group, I understand initially.
Yeah.
So if it is still a focus, then that keeps that in the forefront.
Yeah, it's taken me a few weeks to get up to speed. I've sort of been involved for about 3 weeks now. So
appreciate your time. Just aware of time. We'll go to the final question, Councillor Ash.
Thanks, Ron. So subsequent to my question before, I'm so excited with everything that is happening with playgrounds around the area. Is with your group, I'm really cognizant of any playground that goes in comes with ongoing maintenance and additions, etc., etc. If you set up the group as a charity, etc., is that your intention, is to kind of take ownership of that park and look after?
Certainly that was discussed as to how can we possibly make sure that there's no ongoing maintenance costs to council, or keep them as low as possible. And so all of the surfaces we were looking at would be designed with that in mind, so that they're very, very low maintenance if at all possible. And we've got a lot of enthusiastic people wanting to get on to working groups, and you saw what happened down at the playground when they asked for people to plant the trees. This community can really come together. There's nothing as powerful as a good idea at the right time, that's for sure.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you for the submission. Thank you also for acknowledging the assistance you've had from staff. It is appreciated. And the process will unfold, and we'll come back to you with a consideration of council's position.
Thank you very much.
Kia ora. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron.
Councillors, that brings us to the end of the morning session. We will need to be back in your seats by 10 to 1 in terms of to take a Zoom call and from Greta Milk. Please be courteous about being back on time, because Mrs. Mills has been she's been bumped up the list today to suit us. It would be discourteous for us not to be ready.